focus. Ideate, innovate, enable. Waters Corporation presents Leading into the Future in association with CNBC-TV18.
Hello and welcome to our special episode, Waters Corporation Leading into the Future in association with CNBC-TV18. Today we are at the launch of the Global Capability Center of Waters Corporation. And it would be suffice, or in fact safe to say, that Waters plays a pivotal role in all our lives because it ensures critical aspects such as the efficacy of drugs, the safety of the food that we eat, and indeed the quality of the materials that we use in our everyday lives. Those are just some of the key aspects that Waters Corporation looks into. So let's go across and meet the key management. Indeed, we've got two leaders from the company who are joining us. They're in the midst of a fairly hectic table tennis game, but I'm going to ask them to come and join us right here. Hi there, Udit. Hi, Anil. So that's Dr. Udit Batra, who is the President and CEO of Waters Corporation. Welcome to India.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we are also joined by Anilkumar, who is the General Manager at Waters India. So once again, hearty congratulations. It's an absolutely beautiful office. And, you know, I was finding out a little bit about Udit, about the company, and it's fascinating the role that you play in every aspect of our lives. You know, just take us through a little bit of what Waters Corporation does and what are those key milestones that connect us to our lives, in fact, to Waters.
Thank you, Paramita. Firstly, thank you for your interest. We're incredibly proud to open the GCC here in Bangalore itself. The story started for Waters roughly 65 years ago in a basement outside of Boston, Massachusetts by Jim Waters. The namesake is still the company's name. And then over many, many years, we developed ourselves. 1994, we went public. Today, we are roughly 3 billion in sales, 8,000 of us globally. We're one of the largest analytical instruments companies in the world. Chances are, if you've had a glass of water, if you've taken any medicine or eaten anything since morning, chances are that our instruments have assured the safety and the quality of what you consumed. So we are, as you said, everywhere, and we are proud to serve that part. India in particular is an important market for us. The unmet needs that are present in the market are the same as our global unmet needs. Pharmaceuticals is the largest customer set we have. About 80% of our business is in pharmaceuticals. And we assure the quality of generics that are produced not only for consumption in India, but also around the globe. 20% of the global volume of generics comes from India.
Indeed.
And we hope to do the same thing for biosimilars and biologics. So we're very excited to be here. And as I said, the Global Capability Center for us is a huge step forward to increase collaboration with our customers, but also marry the world of information technology with biologics.
It's really, I mean, this is cutting edge science. It's going over my head. I used to start, I mean, I wasn't a biology student, but biologics is clearly something that the whole world is talking about, and it's revolutionized treatment. And that brings me to, my question about India, because you mentioned biosimilars, biomanufacturing. Now, in terms of India being a conducive market for you to invest, particularly in terms of the policies of the government, is there something in particular that India is particularly attractive to a company such as yours to come in and invest?
I think it's three things that you have to keep in mind. First, do you find that the unmet needs in the market are the same? Right? Do people have the same unmet needs that you have at a global level so you can align your strategic priorities, right? And those are 100% aligned, right? We feel that the access to biologics should be higher. The same thing is true in India. We feel that there should be no impurity present in food. That's a big need in India, and the regulations are going up as a consequence. India is investing a lot in batteries, has the intention to invest a lot in batteries for electric vehicles. We are a leading player in characterization of batteries. So first, you have to assess if the strategic direction is aligned, and it is. Second, you have to ask yourself if, for the problems that we're trying to solve, if you can find local talent, right? And that brings us to Bangalore, right? Bangalore has some of the largest engineering colleges in all of the country, and India produces the largest number of engineers in the world. So what better place to be than here? And here in this ecosystem, the world of biosimilars or biologics is married to the world of IT. And though that's an area that we're interested in. So the talent is available. And you asked about policies in particular, and Anil can comment a lot more. He's our general manager in India itself. So from a policy perspective, we find the policymakers to be very accessible. In fact, today at the opening, we had Gunjan Krishna here, and we discussed how we can work together with the policymakers, with the manufacturers, and tools makers like us to try and measure what would create a system to show that a biosimilar is the same thing as the originator, right? And that requires the collaboration across industry, that the manufacturers, across analytical tools manufacturers like us. So biologics inherently are very complex. You need more than one measurement to show that molecule A is equal to molecule B. And we would be willing to invest in it provided we had customers and policymakers who felt the same. And it is all driven from the need to make biosimilars more accessible to many more patients.
And indeed, it can revolutionize, healthcare and make it affordable as well. And you seem to be, taking a look at that quite closely. And India, of course, is a hub for biosimilars. You spoke a lot about, technology, and today the whole world is talking about generative AI, even though it's just been about 6 odd months. But, when we talk about artificial intelligence or even, Gen AI, how can we really use these new tools and technology and to really marry and come up with some of those products that you're speaking about?
Yeah, I think I can speak about what we do in our space, and of course Anil can talk a lot more about what's happening in the country. We've at a global level been doing 7 different pilots of using generative AI, basically machine learning and advanced chat GPT tools as well. And if I just take one of them as an example, so for instance, a lot of our products are sold through e-commerce, right? So customers can go in and they can order what are called columns. These things go into instruments. They can order them through e-commerce. What we've been able to do with generative AI now is allow customers to interface and ask questions in natural language, as opposed to having to ask a technical question. They can say, okay, I'm trying to analyze ghee. And if you have an Indian customer and says, you know what, I want to know how to analyze ghee and find impurities in ghee. How do I do it? Right? So then there is an interaction that you can have. And what columns should I use? The software will tell you what columns, what machines, what protocols should I have? The machine will tell you what protocols. So, and that is being developed here in Bangalore itself. And the reason for that is the customers are local. We have the right type of talent, and of course, the problems are relevant for many other areas. So that's just one example, but there are many other areas that are relevant.
So really making the science behind, for instance, you mentioned the example of ghee, accessible through the use of technology. And that's a fascinating example. The other aspect, which is really important, especially in the healthcare aspect, is accuracy. And accuracy, whether it comes to those being accepted, results being accepted by the regulator, or even ensuring the safety for customers. I mean, how does technology really become an enabler in this space?
It's a fantastic question, and I'll take the example of nitrosamines. I mean, Anil and his team actually led, for us globally, the development of methods and tools to detect nitrosamines. Do you want to talk about that, Anil?
Yeah, absolutely. So for a layman, these are present in the body, present in the products, present everywhere. These nitrosamines, for example, if you are taking a anti-diabetic drug or anti-hypertension drug, possibly over a long period of time, the medication what you are taking, if there are nitrosamines present in that, in the drug you are taken over a period of time, it's minute quantity, you are taken over a period of time, it is carcinogenic, it can create cancer. So this has been identified recently in the last 2-3 years by US FDA. And for our clients or customers, the products which are there in the market already, and they found nitrosamines present in those products. So it is so dangerous. It impacts the business of those organizations as well.
Right.
So now back-end customers are struggling. Instead of recall, how do you prove that there are nitrosamines not present in their product which is already in the market? So it's also new for us. So we took customer samples to our lab and worked on those samples, multiple samples. We identified what are the methodology we can adopt for that, and we found a way how they can analyze nitrosamines in the product using our local labs here. That helped our customers to prove to the regulators that there are no nitrosamines present in the product. That made their life easier.
Huge step
Indeed.
forward.
Huge step.
And
Yeah.
that method, I mean, talking about innovation in India and being close to customers, that method, that ideology has now been adopted in the US and Europe from India.
Tell us a little bit about this Global Capabilities Center. I mean, what does it mean, both in terms of the investment and what role is it likely to evolve into and its importance in Waters Corporation?
Look, it's, firstly, thank you for also coming here. It's really three parts, right? Waters used to outsource a lot of our software work to many different vendors. And they're very capable, very thoughtful, but that created silos amongst different development teams. The first thing we wanted to do is coalesce those into one, right? So the people who are working on what is called infrastructure software, or people who are working on e-commerce that we talked about earlier, so you're able to search and talk to a customer directly, or people who are working on generative AI, are all under the same roof. Right? And so we were able to bring them all together. So we coalesced them all together. So the first objective was to coalesce all of this work that was being done in many different places under one roof, right? The second objective was, well, once you bring them together, is to increase collaboration. So when you're starting to solve problems that cross-cut, and the most important is for them to be able to collaborate with our customer.
On that note, Udit, let's take a quick break. We have a lot more to catch up on. You're watching us on our special episode, Waters Corporation Leading into the Future, brought to you in association with CNBC-TV18.
Waters Corporation presents Leading into the Future in association with CNBC-TV18. Waters Corporation presents Leading into the Future in association with CNBC-TV18.
Welcome back to our special episode, Leading into the Future, where we are in conversation with the top management of Waters Corporation. We have with us the President and CEO, Dr. Udit Batra, and along with him, Anilkumar, who is the General Manager of Waters India. And Anil, let me now turn to you, because we've heard about the scale and depth of Waters Corporation and how it's helping countries across the world and in India included in various aspects, particularly healthcare. Tell us a little bit about what the plans are for India and particularly the scale of your operations here in India. We understand there are various regional hubs. It's not just Bangalore. But today in Bangalore, you've inaugurated the GCC Center. I mean, what makes Bangalore stand out? And tell us a little bit more about your plans.
It is basically ingrained in our philosophy. So we have to be very close to our customers. Our customers are all across the country. Be it Jammu or maybe Sikkim or Guwahati or in Cochin. So we have customers all over the place. So we have to be as close as possible to customers. That's why we have these regional hubs where we support them. Each regional hub is self-sufficient to manage our customer expectations and deliverables as well. So when it comes to Bangalore, is a talent hub, Namma Bangalore. So and the business environment and the way we can get talent here is second to none.
You know, you're focusing a lot about talent and how you're really training this talent, for instance, for your particular, domain area of expertise.
Yeah, it's a good point. So when you look at Indian population, in general, workforce is 40% of the workforce are below 25 years. And over a period of time, there are going to be a billion population who are below 25 or around 25. That's a huge younger population, young India, you can claim. And they need to be trained. They come out from the colleges and they have their education, their studies based on what is taught in the curriculum. But whereas industry needs the skills, so we have an ecosystem in Bangalore. For example, we have many of our customers are using our equipments, and we have a software guys, and we take them to our customer site, and they look how customers are working. So it becomes a partnership with them as well. So that's why GCC will help us taking to the customers, understanding their customer challenges in day-to-day usage of equipments as well. So that way it helps.
That's fascinating in terms of how you are foreseeing this particular space and landscape to change. And so from India, let me go back to the global landscape. And Waters Corporation has been around for the last 65 years, as you mentioned to us. So given its rich history, you've also seen the pandemic, which sort of completely changed the entire healthcare space. What are the opportunities and challenges that it has presented for a company such as yours?
It's a superb question. Look, many of us can't even remember what the world before the pandemic was. A lot of new ideas have been ushered in. Technology is no different. We've had fantastic evolution of mRNA vaccines. right? They've come through the market as fast as possible, and now they're accessible to many, many more patients around the world. While new technology has come at a breakneck pace, and mRNA is just one example. There's cell therapy, there's gene therapy. There's a lot to be excited about in the healthcare ecosystem. 50% of the pipeline of pharmaceutical companies globally are now biologicals. And biologicals, I don't mean just monoclonal antibodies. I mean cell and gene therapy, mRNA, siRNA, you name it, right? But I think we need to take a step back. I think one of the challenges that still remains is access to medicine. Right? There are these breakthrough therapies, and there are biologicals we talked about earlier. They're still not accessible to many, many patients around the world, right? And we talked about biosimilars earlier. Biosimilars in particular, I mean, India today produces 60% of the global vaccines. 60%, right? They're produced in India itself, especially pediatric vaccines. 20% of the world's small molecule generics are produced in India. But for biosimilars, that number is a fraction of a percent.
You know, there have been a couple of terms that you and Anil have been using, and I wrote those down. So I'm going to read them out because I'm definitely not a chemistry student. One of them is chromatography, mass spectrometry, and thermal analysis innovations. I mean, you've been talking a lot about that. Now, you have actually created this space. You are leaders in this space. Explain to our viewers exactly, you know, what do innovations in these particular arenas mean and how you're planning to create further such innovations.
So it's not a mystery, these are mouthfuls, right? And they all start off, so chromatography, for instance, started off with a filter paper. Chromatography is nothing but just separation of different molecules based on their adherence to different substrates. That's all it is, right? You can do it on a filter paper. You can do it in a column with a packed set of particles, with a highly sophisticated instrument that pumps fluid through it, and that's by the way called a chromatography instrument.
It sounds a bit like percolating coffee, but as I said, I'm not a chemistry student.
That's exactly it, right? Percolating coffee or inkjet printers, it's got similar type of technology, right? But the technology itself starts off being super complex. Where Waters comes in is to take that complex instrument that looks like a Frankenstein of instruments and coalescing it and making it into a simple instrument that you and I can use, that is intuitive. But what it produces is data that the regulators can trust to show that there is no impurity present in the food that we're eating or in the medicines that we're taking, right? So that's chromatography. Mass spec is similar. Mass spec, again, was the basis of mass spec was invented back in the 1600s. It is the most exquisite technique to obliterate a molecule and put it back together. So you take it through a mass spec machine, you break it down into its constituent pieces, and you use advanced software to put together the molecule back again, right? And you again want to take that sophisticated, complex technique and simplify it. So you and I can use it with press of 2 buttons in a quality assurance lab where you're testing hundreds of samples.
And in fact, let me throw this question across to you. The world today is also all about, you know, sustainability, and along with, of course, accuracy, which is something we've also discussed. When we talk about sustainability, what does it mean to a company like Waters?
I think we take pride in sustainability, in improving sustainability across 3 different dimensions. First, anytime we build a plant, we ensure that it has lesser environmental footprint than it did in the past. We won several awards for the latest plant we built in Taunton, Massachusetts, outside of Boston, that produces world-class columns that are used for separating in HPLCs, right? So it has a very low environmental footprint versus what would have existed in the past. Second, we spend a lot of time and energy in developing products that reduce the environmental footprint. So the plants have a lesser footprint. So for instance, the instrument that I was talking about earlier that detects a speck can detect species like a speck in an Olympic sized pool. This is called a TQ absolute mass spec. It's a mouthful, you don't need to know what it is, but the instrument itself has a 50% lower environmental footprint. It consumes 50% less electricity than its previous counterparts. It's 1,000,000 times more accurate than the previous generation. So we've improved the technology while reducing the footprint. And I mean, Anil has a great example with our Acuity products.
Please.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it is ingrained in Waters' philosophy as well in terms of sustainability. So Waters was looking, we are using a lot of solvents with these HPLCs, how to reduce the amount of solvent you use. So Waters invented an instrument called ultra performance liquid chromatography way back in 2004 that runs the same sample in 1/10 of the time, consuming very minuscule amount of solvent as well. So that helps. And also we do have products like supercritical fluid chromatography using liquid nitrogen. That also it's a green chemistry. So we are always there in the sustainability area in terms of instrumentation itself.
Yeah, and nothing is sustainable if you don't have a culture that promotes inclusion.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
That promotes the ability for people with different types of backgrounds to be able to work together. So we feel that we are creating an environment where different people with great talent, with different types of backgrounds can all come together and produce these products so that we can leave the world better than we found it. Right? So we give more than we take.
Let's first start off, Anil, with you in terms of India's plans from here on. Today marks a new beginning as far as your GCC is concerned, but clearly there's much more, I'm sure, that you're looking at ahead.
So if you look at the difference what we made as far as India is concerned, the difference what we made as a country in terms of generic drugs, we want to do the same thing with biologics. We want to do the same thing with biosimilars. So for that, India is the best place to do. And we have enough opportunity here. So enormous opportunity. Enough is a very small word. We have enormous opportunity here.
Wonderful. So that's India, and finally the globe.
Look, I mean, we are humbled to play a small part. We're a set of engineers, scientists, economists that have been put together, and we have a terrific mission. We want to make sure that the food that we eat is safe to eat. We want to make sure that the medicines that we're consuming are of the highest quality. We want to make sure that the batteries in our vehicles are safe as anything. And all of this is only possible. All of this is only possible if we create an environment in our company and with our collaborators that is inclusive, where people can collaborate and bring the best ideas to the table. We're not just an analytical instruments company. We're not just a software company. We have the mission to make sure that the instruments that we build, the software that we build, allows us to improve the environment, to improve the food, improve the medicines that we take.
On that note, Udit and Anil, thank you so much for joining us today. And that brings us to the end of the special episode, Waters Corporation Leading into the Future, in association with CNBC-TV18. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Waters Corporation presents Leading into the Future in association with CNBC-TV18. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.